Sherlock Holmes is recovering from drug addiction, so he is assigned Joan Watson as his sober companion.
I'm here to make the transition from rehab as smooth as possible, so I will be living with you for the next 6 weeks, which means I'll be available to you 24/7.
Holmes invites Watson to assist him on his consultation for the New York police in Elementary.
Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Greg Karber.
I'm Rachel Appelbaum.
I'm Salim Lemelle.
And we're here to review Elementary, which is a new show on CBS that stars Jonny Lee Miller as Sherlock Holmes, Lucy Liu as Watson. So we've all just seen it.
Indubitably.
Indubitably. Greg, what did you think of this?
Well, I really like it. This incarnation of Sherlock Holmes is very much a police procedural like Rizzoli and Isles or Bones. It does not seem like it's going to be a long-form Sherlock Holmes story. They're just two interesting personalities who are going to solve week-to-week mysteries in New York.
Lucy Liu's character, I think, is actually going to be very important because after the opening sequence, she's the first character that we see. She's going up to Sherlock Holmes' house.
One thing that I found interesting about her was, like, you generally have movies where there's, like, some guy and he's got this dark secret and it's crippled him inside, and then it's the part of the woman to figure out what's wrong with him and go in and massage the whole thing. Whereas in this show, Joan Watson is that character. She's got the dark crippling past and she's got the baggage that she walks around with.
Well, I think it's actually both characters, and you kind of find this, you know, near the end of the episode that they both have secrets that we're probably gonna, you know, learn more about as the season goes on, because it's really about these two characters.
I mean, I agree with you. I think that, you know, we will see this friendship develop between the two, and that's the part of Sherlock Holmes that they will be using, is the relationship between Sherlock and Watson.
How do you do it?
Do what?
Guess things.
I don't guess. I observe. And once I've observed, I deduce.
Sherlock Holmes, the essential like innovation of his character in detective fiction is this of the super genius, the brain, who will sit down and look at a problem and just sort of deduce the answer. And I was very worried when I started watching this that it was going to be a show about a guy who continually leaps to conclusions about things. And I think they did a really good job with including Sherlock Holmes, but still maintaining the sort of procedural format where you follow along with the detectives. You might be in the dark as to who the killer is, but you're not in the dark as to what their theories are.
Exactly.
He has a big connection with technology. He's always taking pictures, and he's always showing them to people.
I love that. I felt like that was an update not only to the world, but also to his psyche, and that this is sort of an obsessive character who always wants to have information, and so he's addicted to his iPhone, essentially.
Google, essentially.
Yeah.
There's even a part where he's like, oh, how did you find that out?
Yeah,
Oh,
Google, which is
And
which
of
is
course,
cute.
of course Sherlock Holmes would be on Google.
Well, and what's nice too is that, yeah, like we've sort of said, which is that there aren't crazy jumps. We're like, well, how does he know that? And he's like, Google,
Yeah.
which is lovely.
She's in the safe room.
Husband didn't say anything about any safe room.
The extra weight of a safe room's steel reinforcements can cause the floor around it to decline slightly, creating a slope between 1 and 5 degrees.
I think what's also interesting is that there's a little bit of maybe a romantic subplot going on. It's very small, but what I like is that we're automatically going to think that this is going to be there, and they tease it in the very first scene of the show, where Sherlock Holmes comes to her and says that you're the love of my life, and then we find out that he's quoting a movie.
I'm hoping this is not going to turn into a romantic story. I'm hoping that this is more of like a 30 Rock kind of dynamic where there's a little bit of tension between them, which just heightens both of the characters and makes it more interesting. But I like the idea that these are two professionals who work together, and I really don't want them to become involved.
Well, this is sort of the X-Files dilemma, where they work well not together, and you're going to have some fans who desperately want them to be together, and some fans who don't want them to be together, and they'll hopefully play with that for the entire length of the show. I'm worried that they'll be making out in like episode 4, though.
Let's talk about the directing a little bit.
Michael Questa is the director who also directed 6 Feet Under and Homeland and Dexter, and, you know, he seems to do a really good job with pacing, character development. I think it's definitely more of an American-style show. One thing that's so exciting about the British version is that it's so quick, it's so fast. You have to really be thinking the whole time. You can't be watching this late at night and zoning out. This show is gentler, but it still does keep you on your toes. It still is, you know, hints and clues, and you still have to be engaged to, you know, to keep up.
Obviously, in comparison to the British show, this is not flashy at all, like you said.
I feel like one of the reasons they didn't do that sort of stylistic overkill is that, for one, the Robert Downey Jr. Sherlock Holmes movie sort of did those kinds of super slow motions and zoom-ins. And also, if you're going to take Sherlock Holmes and put him in the modern day and have Lucy Liu play Watson, at some point you have to introduce expected conventions so that people can watch it without it blowing their minds. Elementary puts Sherlock Holmes in a pretty typical police procedural, but it's a pretty typical police procedural with Sherlock Holmes, so see it.
I think that this show offers a really good balance between plot and character developments. It's intriguing. See it.
I think this is a great American version of the Sherlock Holmes tale. See it. Cheers, mates.
Cheers.
Yes.
Tell me, how do clients typically introduce you?
To be honest, most clients just call me the companion.
This is Miss Watson, my personal valet.
How do you do?
I think they should have made Sherlock Holmes a lady.